Tonight, a shocking attack at a Saskatoon high school has left one student and one teacher in the hospital. Also, the brother of a Saskatchewan soldier killed fighting for Ukraine says the family is still hoping to bring his body home, and now they're getting help. Plus, before they went back to the books, they went back to the land. We check in with an Indigenous culture camp near McLean.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, September 5th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. Saskatoon police are investigating after a shocking assault today at Evan Hardy Collegiate. A 14-year-old girl has been arrested. Another teen was taken to hospital with serious injuries. Liam O'Connor has the details.
The call came in just after 12 o'clock. Police were told to come quickly because a student had been attacked and a fire had been started.
The suspect we have in custody started the victim on fire.
A resource officer just happened to be inside the school at another event. He was able to get to the scene and quickly arrest the 14-year-old girl, and who they say they believe set the 15-year-old girl on fire. The 15-year-old victim is in the hospital now, and her condition is not known. The suspect will be held for 24 hours while police determine what happened.
The way the investigation works is that the detectives in our serious assault unit will be interviewing witnesses, gathering any evidence they could. If there's video, that type of stuff, they may, in conjunction with the Crown Prosecutor, find out what are the appropriate charges. But at this point, the suspect is in custody. As the investigation unfolds, they'll determine what the evidence tells them the proper charge would be.
Police also say a teacher was injured by the fire while trying to put it out. He was also treated in the hospital after the incident. The school says it has canceled classes for tomorrow, but it says its doors will be open tomorrow for students to come and pick up their belongings and access counseling. For the officer who responded, it was also a hard day.
Major concerns because one of my officers was there on scene immediately. And so we do have protocols obviously within our service as well that are being kicked into place right now to ensure that we look after their mental well-being, because this is not just another day at the office.
A statement from the Saskatoon Public School Division says it was a traumatic incident for the entire school community. Liam O'Connor, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The provincial government is spending $17 million to boost police presence in cities. About $12 million of that will go toward 100 new municipal police officers around the province. The new officers and recently opened complex needs facilities in Saskatoon and Regina are expected to complement each other. Saskatoon's police chief says more officers means more time spent helping the public.
When you have a more full complement of frontline members on the street working, you have the capacity to meet an individual where they're at. And sometimes it takes more than just a short interaction with that person to find out what they need in the moment.
How those new officer positions will be doled out depends on how fast the cities can get people into uniforms. That's why a portion of the money, about $2.5 million over 3 years, is for the Saskatchewan Police College. The province is also giving money to Regina's street team. The outreach service already operates in the downtown core and responds to non-emergent calls for help. It focuses on people experiencing homelessness, having mental health crises, or having trouble finding specific services. It operates 5 days a week, and it's now getting $325,000 in new annual funding from the province. The mayor says this will help expand the street team.
We all know more investment needs to be done, but sometimes investment isn't just money. It's the people on the street connecting and educating, and then coming back to us also, and I meant it when I said, when there are barriers that exist, and that could be identification, that could be outstanding utility payments, it could be a breadth of issues. When we're able to quantify those and take them back, that's how you change the system.
The province says the team's work makes existing services more accessible and helps improve public safety. The street team says it already receives calls from all over the city, so they're glad to be able to help even more. One day after ending his deal with the Liberals, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh made a campaign-style appearance in Toronto today. Singh is trying out a new strategy to try and win voter support. Ashley Burke reports.
A day after Jagmeet Singh's big breakup with the Liberals, he's campaigning to replace Justin Trudeau.
And when the next election comes, my friends, I am running to be the next Prime Minister of this country.
This polling aggregate shows the Conservatives have surged in support, and if there were an election today, could win 42% of the popular vote. That's at the expense of the Liberals, which have been trailing behind all year, and the NDP hasn't benefited. It's sitting in third place.
When folks are upset with the red team, they then start looking at the blue team.
Singh came out swinging against the blue team, trying to distance himself from the Liberals and position himself as the alternative to Pierre Poilievre.
Let me be clear. Conservative cuts would take things from bad to worse.
Singh stayed on his message track, repeating it more than a dozen times.
We have ripped up the agreement with Justin Trudeau. We have absolutely ripped up the agreement with Justin Trudeau, and that means an election is more likely. We have ripped up the agreement with Justin Trudeau. The agreement is done.
But despite repeated questions, wouldn't say if he would bring down the government.
I will look at any vote that comes before us, and we will make a decision in the best interest of Canadians, as any minority government normally operates.
And people know that. They remember what Conservatives do.
This is all unfolding during two fierce by-election campaigns.
And who is ready to elect common sense Conservative Colin Reynolds in Elmwood, Transcona?
The NDP's trying to hold on to a seat in Manitoba and pick up another in Montreal. Now the party's in the spotlight.
And it allows them to go to voters in those ridings in particular and say, look, we aren't propping up the unpopular Liberals. You can vote for us and get something different.
The move puts the Liberals on shakier ground.
Hopefully the NDP will continue to try and deliver for Canadians. Right now they're focused on politics. We're focused on Canadians.
Singh says he's ready for an election, but if he plans on triggering one, he won't say when. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
People in Ontario are seeing a big change in the way they can buy alcohol. Thousands of convenience stores across the province are now licensed to sell booze. After years of promises, people in Ontario can now find beer, wine, and ready-made cocktails at the corner store. And it's not a pilot project, and it does come with rules, like what time alcohol can actually be sold. It was supposed to come into effect in 2026, but came together quicker than anticipated. The brother of a Saskatchewan soldier killed fighting for Ukraine says the family is still hoping to bring his body home. But as Jason Warwick reports, they're getting some help.
Well, I'm absolutely proud of him.
Back in April, Will Hardy drove his brother Winton from their home in Outlook to the Saskatoon airport. Winton flew to Ukraine and volunteered as a combat medic on the front lines of the Russian invasion. In June, Winton and another Canadian were killed by a Russian drone strike. That territory is now held by Russia. Will says he wants to bring his brother's body home. And a US-based group called the Weatherman Foundation is helping. The group has staff in Ukraine and are in contact with Hardy and has started the process.
They have had success with other families, but not with my brother. Not yet.
Hardy says the foundation paid for him and his mother to do a series of complex DNA tests in case any remains are discovered. They also advise the family to update their passports in case they need to travel to Europe.
He said he wanted to go there and help, and that's exactly what he did. And he did what he set out to do, and he's a hero.
Meanwhile, a GoFundMe page has been started to raise money to pay for a memorial stone honoring Winton in their hometown of Outlook. Will says he's grateful to everyone who has supported him and his family. He also hopes his brother's life of service can inspire others. Jason Warwick, CBC News, Saskatoon.
It was a really nice day out there in Regina, and depending on where you were in Wascana Park, you'd still see those geese not going south yet, or maybe a muskrat, or some really cute ducks. But it will be a while yet before it gets cold enough for any birds to take off for warmer climates. Ethan will have your forecast after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. After claiming a record number of trees in Regina, more cases of Dutch elm disease have popped up in Saskatoon. 6 new cases to be exact, and a new record. In previous years, the city's marked 1 or 2 cases, and as a result, hundreds of hours have been devoted to remove more than 2,000 kilograms of elm wood. Dutch elm is a disease caused by a fungus carried by the elm bark beetle, and that fungus prevents the tree from taking up water, and it eventually dies.
One of the best ways, and I don't think we can be any clearer on this, is do not store elm wood or elm brush or transport it. Doing so or keeping elm wood to burn in your fire pits or for other purposes really puts our urban canopy at risk, and that's not something that we can afford to lose.
3 of the trees removed were in the Varsity View neighborhood. There was also 1 case in North Park and 2 in Westmount.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. Employee pricing is on now.
Our weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now, and the people who hate summer weather are about to be real disappointed.
Yeah, I don't know. Wow, if you hate summer weather, come on. I guess so. Some people, at least the good news is it won't be a humid heat. It's going to be a dry heat, it looks like this time around. But we're starting to climb up temperature-wise here in the province. We got to 26 today in Maple Creek. And then you go eastward and you see those temperatures dropping off a bit. We're below the 20-degree mark in portions of east central Saskatchewan, even around 15 in Hudson Bay. But the rest of us kind of sitting around those more seasonal conditions. This after a pretty chilly start to the morning, a little bit cooler than forecast even, especially in Regina. We were the cool spot this morning, sitting at just 2 degrees, and a lot of other locations throughout south and central kind of sitting below that 5-degree mark, kind of hovering around 4 degrees or so. And we're expecting another night of temperatures just like this. And in addition to some pretty low temperatures, that's going to bring the risk of frost tonight to portions of south central, southeastern, and east central Saskatchewan. Lots of 2s and 3s for overnight temperatures on the board here as we see clear skies overnight. That's what's going to help bring in that risk of frost. And those skies going to stay pretty clear over the next couple of days here. We put the outlook in motion, and there's really not all that much to talk about, actually, aside from maybe a little bit of a disturbance moving through the Northwest Territories, which will just clip the very far northern part of the province. But other than that, things remaining rather uneventful. Winds are, in accordance with this, going to stay pretty low, especially in the southern half of the province. We'll see them pick up a little bit into northern Saskatchewan. I think maybe a little bit breezy in the morning tomorrow, especially through central Saskatchewan. And on Saturday, again, things really not picking up all that much. But the winds you see there, generally coming from the south. So that means that smoke is going to start to move northward, and then winds shift to the east a little bit. So again, it's northern Saskatchewan we're mostly concerned about smoke-wise before that starts to move eastward. But things may begin to flare up again fire-wise, just because things are going to be so hot and dry this coming while here. And those southerly winds are going to be coupled with this ridge in the jet stream here. So they're going to be bringing up some very, very warm air from the south. And well, just how warm are we talking? Well, as we get into even tomorrow, Regina, things are going to start to warm up, probably into the mid-20s. And then as we get into Saturday and Sunday, temperatures going to remain into the 30s. And again, Environment Canada is expecting that we will likely get heat warnings with this. I can't remember the last time we had heat warnings in September. Saskatoon, again, we're probably looking at mid-20s for your daytime high tomorrow. And then this heat not going to last too long, probably getting into Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. That's when things will break down a little bit, maybe a little bit of moisture on the way, things getting a little bit breezy, and those nights becoming a little bit cooler as well. So yes, hot, Sam, but a dry heat this time around.
That's what I've heard that before. It only lasts for so long.
For so long. Well, this might be our last shot at the heat this year.
Okay. Well, thanks for that sunny disposition.
You're very welcome.
From hello to goodbye, Adele fans are getting one last chance to see the British singer belted out on stage before she steps away from the spotlight for what she says will be a, quote, incredibly long time. It's made fans desperate, with resale sites reporting tickets as high as $18,000. Adele's last performance will be November 23rd at Caesars Palace in Vegas, the end of her residency. We'll be back after her break. Saskatoon diver Margo Erlam declared she had failed after competing at her first Olympics earlier this month. But now that she's home and she's had time to reflect on the emotions around competing, she sat down with Saskatoon morning host Stephanie Massicott.
I felt extremely disappointed, let down, angry, frustrated. That dive that I finish on is my best dive and always is my best dive, and it's a very fluke that it happened like that. I think the adrenaline was a lot. I knew I needed 6s on this dive, a very achievable score for me, so I was just upset at everything.
You shared all of those feelings on your post online, but how have you been dealing with these emotions?
To be honest, I've kind of just put myself in vacation mode. The second we got back, I went on a camping trip, and I think just letting myself be free from the media, free from the diving world, and letting myself just be a normal human for a little bit helped a lot. That post was written very shortly after I had finished, so the emotions were definitely really high. So I think I've come down a little bit and kind of centered myself a little bit.
We have our para-athletes over in Paris right now. Do you feel there's too much pressure on athletes representing Canada at the Olympics?
I don't think so. I always, I've heard that pressure is a privilege, and I love that saying. We are the best athletes that we have to offer, and I think that's something so special that not everybody gets to achieve. I do think it is a hard thing to have this one event that is the biggest one of your life. Everybody's watching. If you make one mistake, you're out.
I mean, as a top athlete, winning and losing, it's part of the job. How was it different at the Games for you compared to other competitions? I'm sure you've been in many before.
Yeah, but to be honest, the Olympics was this major competition, and the village and everything outside of the pool was very different than a normal competition. But on the board, when I'm diving, everything was the same. It was the same people I'm competing against, the same feeling of the boards, and everything like that was the same. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't extremely different for me, just the massive crowd, I guess.
You are officially an Olympian, one of the world's top athletes. What helped you, or have you been able to accept this title?
Yeah, I know I wrote in my post that it doesn't feel like I deserve the title of Olympian, but looking back at my life and how much work and sacrifice that not only I've put in, but my family and the people that are around me and the community I have, I think I want to honor that title, and it should be shared with my support group as well. They all came to the Olympics with me, and they made that possible.
How do you move forward as an athlete? Are you looking forward 4 more years, or just to the next competition?
This is the most common question that I'm getting right now. It's are you going to LA? And I honestly don't want to put that pressure on myself. The last 3 years, the last 18 years of my diving career have been this goal of making the Olympics, and I got there, and it was devastating. I don't want that to happen again. I want to enjoy myself and enjoy the process and not have this massive goal that's over my head. I just want to go in and enjoy every day of practice, because I won't get to do this forever.
As the Rough Riders look to bust out of their winless streak, one of their receivers is hoping to continue a streak of his own. Riders rookie receiver Keyshawn Johnson has a touchdown catch in 3 straight games. He's hoping to make it 4 in a row when the Green and White visit the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. But he says the team's success and getting a W comes before any personal wins. And the head coach says the team needs to dial in mentally.
We want to win as a team, so that's the main thing we got to do. So we got to do much more as a receiver group, whatever it may be, as a defense, as a team, to go out there and get the W.
Something unique or something comes up that it normally doesn't show up in a game, that we find ways to let it rear its ugly head. So again, man, it's just mental toughness and focus from us. I think physically we match up as well as anybody versus any team. What's going to separate I think great teams and good teams is mental toughness. So we got to dial in on the mental toughness. Yeah.
Now
Peter Godber, Zach Fry, and Dante Myers are all officially ruled out for the Banjo Bowl. The Riders have fallen to third in the West Division at 5-6-1, just a single point out of first. Kickoff on Saturday at Princess Auto Field in Winnipeg is at 1 o'clock. And Ethan's back with one last look at your weather.
And this is your final warning. We got frost possibly on the way for Regina tonight. At midnight, temperature of 9 degrees, but overnight we could see that drop to closer to the freezing mark as those clear skies stay in place. Hoping to rebound quickly, though, to 10 degrees by 8 a.m. Winds, as you can see, staying from the southeast through the day. They'll be pretty light at times. I think not too much of an issue. And then a temperature of around 21, heading to around 25 tomorrow for our temperature. Saskatoon, the frost is not as much of a concern for you. I think it still will be a single-digit temperature kind of night, and then a pretty similar day tomorrow. We might see those winds pick up a little bit into the afternoon, gusting 30-40, but still a nice sunny day, and the temperatures even a little bit above seasonal, Sam.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
And before we leave you tonight, we might be almost done the first week of school, but before a group of Indigenous teens went back this week, they got a really cool cultural experience. The Treaty 4 Resurgence Camp brought the young people from their homes in the city to a camp near Maclean. They were able to learn about land-based experiences in Treaty 4, and some of the activities included horse therapy, picking medicine, and survival skills, as well as a sweat ceremony.
I want the students to understand, we come from a really rich culture and really rich history, so this is their introduction to learning if they haven't learned it before.
I think it's integral to resurging our sovereignty and seeking our sovereignty again, so in the future we could begin to exercise it, and that begins with our youth, that begins with the future generations to come.
Camp organizers are planning another one in December so kids can experience winter activities such as hunting and trapping. And that's it from us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask. You can subscribe to CBC Saskatchewan's YouTube channel, or you can download the CBC News app on your phone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.